Welcome back to Hannity. The world on edge tonight after reports that the rogue regime in Pyongyang has missile-ready nuclear weapons. Scary times. Here with reaction, Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark, former Green Beret commander and Fox News contributor, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Waltz. Lieutenant Colonel, your thoughts on how does America deal with what is an existential threat now to the safety and security of not only the U.S., but those around the world tonight?
Well, Sean, I was just out in Japan and in the region, and I have to tell you, we have some incredibly nervous allies, and rightly so. You know, my first response to the reports today that North Korea is able to put a nuclear warhead on an ICBM is the intelligence community better be right this time. If you'll remember, just 6 months ago, President Obama told incoming President Trump that they're going to be able to do this within 4 to 5 years. Now, 6 months later, they're able to do it now. This can't be another Iraq WMD situation. You know, my brothers and sisters in the intelligence community have to be spot on here. And then secondly, you know, there's a lot of talk of President Trump warmongering, you know, essentially with some of his responses and with his language.
But further isolating, yeah.
That's right. But I think, you know, what he has to do is he has to change Kim Jong-un and the Chinese's calculation. Right now they think getting a nuclear weapon is the way to ensure regime survival, and we need to make them believe that by getting one, he's actually going to guarantee the fall of his regime one way or another, and the Chinese need to believe that as well.
Sheriff Clark, you know, it's funny. You and I have had personal discussions about evil in our time. You've seen a lot of evil in your work. This is evil on a grand scale. You see that appeasement has got us to this point. What is your advice for the president today?
Well, first of all, the hour is at hand, and I'll sleep well tonight knowing that President Trump is in charge of this crisis. This is one of the most profound duties that a commander-in-chief has to protect the United States of America. Nothing has seemed to work thus far. Paying this Kim Jong-un off with sanctions, that doesn't seem to work. The diplomacy, not with a rogue dictator. So one of the things that's on the table for the president to have to make, and is a very serious thing for him to have to decide, is a preemptive strike. But that might be all that is left at this point. He's not going to sit back and blame the other administrations and people came before him who could have done something about it. He made it clear during the campaign he was going to deal with this situation. We can't appease North Korea anymore. Their nuclear capability has to be dismantled, and I don't think that that's going to come through negotiations.
There's a great risk there, Lieutenant Colonel, and that is that obviously he could launch before our missiles get there. Even if we create a great coalition, as I was asking the former speaker,
yeah.
To me, you're talking about a need to almost incinerate North Korea to get the job done.
Yes, Sean, I want to be very clear here on the military options and how bad they are and how difficult that it will be. This is not a matter of just some stealth fighters going in and taking him out or taking his program out. He has been, and his father and his grandfather have been preparing for this for 50 years. They have these things dug into the sides of mountains, down in bunkers, with a fairly sophisticated air defense system. And the trump card, as I'm sure you've heard, is the artillery, the thousands of artillery pieces they have ready to rain down on Seoul. It's like artillery coming down on Manhattan. And we would not be able to take all of that out before he would be able to unleash it. So we do need to be sure that every option has been exhausted. I think we need to put a lot of pressure on the Chinese to strangle them financially. Yes, our ambassador Nikki Haley had a great success this week in new sanctions, but the Chinese have to enforce it, and their calculus has to change. Right now, they're more afraid of a unified Korea friendly to the U.S. than they are of a fallen regime than they are of war, and they need to understand that we're serious.
It's a bigger geopolitical threat to them, Sheriff.
Oh, without a doubt. You know, of course, all of these other options have to be played out to the end, but as was indicated by several people, you know, time is running out. We can look at this and we know how dire it is. We can't punt. We know that. Something has to be done. It's not going to be clean. It's not going to be easy. There may be massive loss of life over in that region. Nobody wants to see that, but at the same time, you know, just like I said, if you just decide to punt and maybe try to buy this guy off, we'll be dealing with this again at some point in time. But that's what we elect the president to do, to be the commander-in-chief.
All right, guys, thank you.